Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, From Personalisation to Individualisation, New AI-Powered Commerce. For all you newbies out there, hello, I am Ali Thiam, the editor of Power Retail, and it is lovely to have you joining us here today. Today's webinar, we will be exploring valuable and actionable insights, but before we jump in, as always, I do have a little bit of housekeeping to get through first. With our speaker today, if you have any questions for him, we do encourage that you pop the questions into the questions tab, which you will find on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the session. Today, we are joined by Scott Rigby, the Chief Technology Advisor and Principal Product Manager for Commerce in Asia Pacific at Adobe. Scott is an experienced international technology executive who provides strategic advice to C-level executives in the area of digital transformation, innovation, strategy, marketing, customer insights, and cloud computing, just to name a few. His expertise covers a wide range of customers and a diverse range of industries, from finance through to retail, media, telecommunications, automotive, high-tech, and government. You will often find Scott presenting at both events and to organizations over the horizon, thinking on the future disruptions of new technologies like AI, robotics, IoT, blockchain, the list goes on. And he also discussed the impacts on businesses, their culture, their customers, and the world of work for their employees. Lovely to have you here, Scott.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ali. Good afternoon, all. Great to be here.
It's lovely to have you here. Now, I'm not sure about you, but when I think of AI, I often think about robots taking over the world, like in Blade Runner. But in actuality, it is much more complex and much more nuanced than that. So today, Scott and I will be discussing how AI can improve your customers' digital shopping experience, simplifying and streamlining the merchandising process, and delivering intelligent fulfillment. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So Scott, what do you think is the difference between personalization and individualization?
Yeah, I like to think of personalization. So obviously we've come on sort of this maturity curve in respect of customer experience over time, and I've been with Adobe for more than a decade, and as you just read out my profile, I've interacted with customers across the industry spectrum and from a regional perspective across JPAC. And if you think that we kind of moved from this mass marketing of experience to customers through to what I like to think of as personalization, which is sort of segmented or grouped number of individuals, maybe talking to a particular age demographic, 50 to 60-year-olds, or a gender, or particular people that have a certain type of behavior or preference for certain types of goods. That's really sort of personalization, where you're talking to a group of sorts, right? And effectively one to many. And then when you start to move to individualization, that's really where you're starting to mature as a business in respect of your ability to be able to have a one-to-one conversation with customers. So you have enough information to be able to really create a very personalized experience that is unique to that individual based on previous customer interactions with your brand, etc., preferences they might have indicated, and you're using the full complement of creative assets that you have available to be able to deliver a very, very unique experience to that one individual.
Wow, that's really interesting. Do you think that AI-powered personalization will make more consumers crave individualization? And if so, how will the latter shape this shopping experience?
Yeah, look, I think, without a doubt, and moving to sort of the individualization and having this personalized experience for me, not only as consumers, we're obviously demonstrating this desire for that as, brands knowing me as an individual. And there's a fine balance there in respect of, the dichotomy between, know me and respect me. So know who I am and deliver a great personalized experience, but obviously you respect me and the data that I provide you to be able to provide that experience to me. Don't obviously sell that data on, etc. But more importantly is when you think about the evolution of individualization, is that there's plenty of research done by Forrester, Gartner, IDC, etc., to show that customers want more personalization. And we've been talking about personalization for a very long time, but certainly when I think about the brands that we interact with, there's still plenty of opportunity for brands to do more in respect of how nuanced they get in respect of personalization to the nth degree of individualization. I would say that there is really a handful of brands out there in the JPAC market that have got to the individualization kind of category, that in respect of their maturity and their ability to be able to take all of the data that's available around the customer across all the channels that they interact with, be able to activate that in real time and deliver a truly one-to-one experience for an individual. I think most brands are still on that maturity journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So just backtracking a little bit here, what do you think are some of the differences between AI-powered commerce and a more of a traditional commerce approach?
Yeah, well, I think certainly the traditional commerce approach would have been more about sort of that mass marketing and just assuming that, one size fits all in respect of customer experience. And, and part of that as well is really just the ability to be able to execute. And that might mean that, you have legacy technology, or the maturity of your team isn't quite there, or you feel like you need to have, you need to sort of bridge different technologies that you have around customer behavior to be able to execute on that experience or personalization. And that's required some degree of manual input. And, that's really sort of the traditional approach to retail, has really been sort of this mass market appeal. But we've obviously shifted. Customer expectations certainly absolutely has shifted to expecting, more from brands in respect of their understanding of their needs right here and now and then. Part of it might be at one point is, I want to be sold to, I'm in the market to buy something from you. But part of it might be, I'm looking for a service request. Maybe I want to return, the goods that I bought, or I have a question and I'd like that addressed, and be able to understand that time and need in market at that period of time, is to be able to understand exactly where they're at and the type of, service or product or service sales that they're looking for from you. And, that's really how we're evolving. Traditional businesses need to start to embrace AI to be able to scale their ability to talk one-to-one. You won't be able to do that if you're using traditional approaches, if you're using legacy technology, if you're having manual input into every single campaign you put into market. You simply can't scale to the one-to-one need that customers are moving to if you're not leveraging machine learning or deep learning to be able to execute on that.
Yeah, definitely. So you've mentioned that, the developments in AI are not exactly recent. They've been around for some time. But what are your thoughts on the recent development of AI-powered commerce?
Yeah, look, I think AI-powered commerce, look, if I think, so like I mentioned, I've been at Adobe for a while, and certainly for the period of time that I've been at Adobe, we've had certain commerce AI capabilities. So machine learning around, say, product recommendations, where we effectively are looking at, historical customer behavior of people that looked at this product, also looked at these 3, 4, 5 other products, and in helping grow sort of basket size in respect of the number of products that they're adding in, and helping improve the customer journey by making these recommendations, and giving weight, using an algorithm that might give weight to more recent data of customer behavior than sort of older type data. That's been around for close on 2 decades now, right? But if we think about some of the more recent innovation that might have happened, particularly around commerce, that might be in respect of looking at what are customers searching for and making filter recommendations for that. So, I might look for a jumper. You might say, well, looking at the most recent searches, the most frequently asked for one was, blue jumpers, or, summer jackets, or whatever it might be, and making recommendations of allowing them to auto complete that search. That's using, and then the results as well is prioritizing the results based on which ones have been interacted with most frequently based on that search query. That's more recent, and even more recent would be things like using image recognition. So we have image recognition for product recommendation. So if I happen to be looking at, a jumper as an example again, here are other jumpers in the catalog based on us understanding what a jumper looks like, be able to catalog that with keywords and metadata, so that when people are looking for jumpers, we're also making recommendations of other jumpers that are in the the broader catalog, which could run to hundreds of thousands, if not millions of different types of SKUs, depending on what type of retailer you are.
It's really fascinating. So do you think in the long run that AI will be a good thing or a bad thing for online retailers?
Look, I think, there's no doubt it's a good thing. I'm very, pro the value that AI provides to businesses. I think what ultimately you're seeing is that, first and foremost, a lot of times most retailers are not even aware that they're using AI. In a lot of cases, it's embedded in the technology. Certainly from Adobe's perspective, our philosophy is making these kinds of capabilities available to end users. That could be business users, it could be analysts or people that do the analytics for that business. It might be marketers, etc., without them even realizing that they're using it. So, as an example, you might want to optimize your marketing budget as a retailer to be able to drive the most interactions and sales for your business. You're using machine learning then to be able to educate you on what channels, what segment you should go to market based on the budget that you have to drive the most projected interactions from customers. And again, all it's doing here is removing, what would have been typically quite arduous tasks for humans and shifting us more towards a higher value order capability as humans into the business. So example here, analyzing vast quantities of data are better done by computers, and something that might take us 3 hours can potentially be done in a third of a second by that computer. So why should we continue to spend 3 hours to try and do that analysis when we can use a computer to do that? We're better at being, creative, innovative, empathizing with our customers and our audience, being strategic. There's a whole host of things that humans are much better at. And what we will tend to see is that technology will augment us, helping provide the capability that supports us in our role, and it will remove those things that we really are terrible at.
Wow. Are there any circumstances where it might be bad for online retailers?
Look, none that initially come straight to mind. I think, if anything, when we think about us as retailers, we're all strapped for resources, right? So anything where technology can help remove some of those arduous tasks that we do as humans, maybe it's optimizing the fulfillment that we have. So what of our SKUs should we have where based on most recent sales, or what products should we have at the front of the store or the end of the aisle based on online interactions around that particular store. All of that is helping us be better retailers, right? And it's removing and helping us expand the capacity, the bandwidth capacity we have as a task force to be able to deliver more and better customer experiences into market.
It's very interesting. So you mentioned that really online retail, there wouldn't be any bad signs, but what about any other industries? Do you think that any other industries could be affected by AI taking over services provided traditionally by humans? And if there are, what are they?
Look, I mean, there's always this argument of will it replace, people, humans, and so forth. And I think there's no doubt that, even over the last century, we've seen various types of technologies replace humans. I mean, if you go, 100 years back and look at sort of the industrial age and factories, I mean, technology has effectively replaced the workers that we had then, and that's going to be a continued evolution that we're always on. Technology is always going to get to a point where, we create it to be able to replace some of the things that we're really not good at. And I don't think that sort of hamster wheel is ever going to change. I think we're going to continue to try and improve what we can to be able to get to market quicker, be able to understand consumers' needs quicker, and be able to meet those needs as quickly as we can. Look, are there some people at risk if you have a repetitive job, if you are low skilled, if you even work with data? Yes, you are at risk. Is there an opportunity for you to move to other roles within the organization where there is demand? Absolutely, right? So to give you some example, Adobe's done a huge amount of work in this area a couple of years back, looking at the future of work and the impact of technology on the future of work. If you were, as an example, an accountant, and accounting is working with numbers, computers happen to be getting very good at doing accounting for organizations, and you know, be able to replicate what humans used to do. But those accountants have a certain set of skills that are actually desirable to the organization. So they can work autonomously, they can work with computers, they understand numbers, they can be able to project that into impacts to the business, etc. They've pretty much got a vast quantity of skills needed for cybersecurity analysts. And so with the short amount of training, maybe 6-12 months, that accountant actually could become a cybersecurity analyst in your organization, which there absolutely is demand, right? And so the same with procurement. You know, procurement's another function that's being automated out. They actually got a lot of the skills that are required for project managers, and we all need project managers at the moment. We're all running digital transformation projects. We need people that can handle multitude of different stakeholders, etc. Be able to sort of encapsulate that, be able to bring people together, etc. And they've actually got the right skill sets to be able to do that. So, you know, I don't think it's about impacting them in respect of them losing their jobs. It's about making sure that you have a plan to reskill your workforce who are getting impacted by technology into roles where there is absolutely demand.
Absolutely, yeah, I completely agree with that as well. So just touching on these industries, which industries do you think would be best using AI to improve customer experience for a better ROI?
Look, I don't think any industry is, you know, is particularly doesn't have that need. I think every single industry has that need. Are there some that are early adopters? Look, I think without a doubt, if we take the Australian context, you know, you could see, for instance, that you know, the financial institutions and retail banks in particular have been early adopters of technology, and they've been applying that you know, in a fantastic fashion, and quite often I look to as kind of the lighthouse of what customer experience should look like. Telcos have done pretty well. Certainly the media companies have had to adapt, you know, or no longer exist, and certainly some of the big technology players have obviously pushed them in that direction. You know, are there areas where there's still demand? Well, look, pre-COVID, you could have said, you know, retail, 96% of retail sales were through offline channels pre-COVID, right? And you know, you have to assume that there was a reasonable complement of that were traditional retailers, brick and mortar. There hadn't been a massive, you know, sort of uptake in respect of e-commerce retailing, and you can assume that you know, from a pure maturity perspective, they were behind the curveball in respect of the adoption. Another area here was B2B, which is an area that we saw massive uptake in the last 18 months, right? Where their traditional routes to market of potentially selling, say, through third-party retailers, well, that no longer existed, right? And so they had to pivot their business and either sell direct to consumer, sell through marketplaces, build new relationships, take on new technology to allow these new partners they're working with to be able to procure and order their goods. And so we saw a fairly significant uptake there. And then, you know, government is another one where suddenly a whole host of government services either needed to be created or the old ones needed to be digitized to be able to still service the citizens and the population.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely pre-COVID, it's the retail industry was very much brick and mortar oriented. So it's interesting to see how far we've come in 18 months.
Yeah.
So if you were to give an example, just say of a customer experience challenge that could be in theory solved by AI, what would it be?
Look, I mean, you know, I gave you a couple of examples already. It might have been, you know, previously it might have been something like, you know, I'm searching for, you know, I'm coming to your site, happen to be searching for a particular type of products, and, you know, it was a fairly dumb search, right? You didn't get great results. It didn't help you auto complete your search with a bunch of suggestions, and so that entire experience was you know, pretty legacy in respect of what's available today. And now we're using machine learning, and this machine learning is obviously updating in real time based on real-time interactions of customers to provide the best possible filter results, the best possible ranked results. So once you actually get the results page, what is the product or solution or service that is most likely to meet your needs? That's a great example of you know, the ability of AI to be able to understand what customer needs are and be able to push that in front of customers. At the same time, you're continuing to add to your catalog products and services, it will then, pilot and test that. So, it'll start to put that into the search results, start to see what the customer's interactions are with that new product or service that's been added, and then start to, elevate or depress that result based on the real-time feedback that it's getting, something that humans simply can't do and can't do at scale. If you think about, catalogs where you've got 10 or hundreds or millions of SKUs, you simply, as a single human, can't replicate that kind of capability.
Absolutely, definitely. It's very interesting to see it as well from not only a customer acquisition point of view, but also retention. Is there any way that AI could be used to help retain customers or people that maybe have abandoned a cart or something like that in the future?
Yeah, certainly. I think if you think purely just from an automation perspective, where the customers have come through, they've added a product to the cart, they happen to drop out of the sales funnel, and if they don't come back within, say, 3 or 6 hours or 24 hours, whatever you set as a ideal time frame, typically it's within 24 hours. You can automate that process, so you can start to say, here are a set of rules. And if customer executes on this rule, they haven't come back within, say, 6 or 12 hours, let's send them a text message, right? Maybe they haven't come back after 12 hours after getting the text message, or maybe they have and they go into different flows. Let's assume they haven't. Let's trigger an email to them within a free shipping incentive or whatever it might be, right? And all of this kind of capability and rules could be set up so that's fully automated. Again, something that you don't want to have humans replicate because they just don't happen to be very good at it. But also there could be hundreds of thousands of different workflows and decisions that need to be made, that need to be executed and automated, and that could happen at a one-to-one level for your customers. And so again, something that technology happens to be really good at is the ability to be able to automate through those workflow processes, to be able to re-engage those customers to come back. And it might be, come back and, not only is there an incentive, but here's also some recommended products that other people have bought alongside the one that you were considering, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I see that all the time in my own inbox. So, yeah, it's amazing to
I think they're doing a
see.
good job of it too.
I think so too, definitely. It's convinced me a couple of times to go back and complete an order. So, yeah, power to it. But one of the leading reasons why a customer will often abandon a cart or not shop at the retailer again is the returns process. It's one of the biggest pain points for retailers at the moment as well. So if a customer were to buy an item, does it get complicated when they want to actually return something? And how does it work with an AI-enabled system?
Yeah, look, I do think that this is an area of opportunity. I don't think that it's been fully, resolved. I think, a lot of focus has obviously been driven in respect of how do you deliver the best possible, customer acquisition experience, and how can we drive them through to a sale and, increase the cart size and so forth. But when it comes to returns and so forth, that is another area that typically at this point is still quite manual. There's no doubt that Adobe Commerce has got returns module, etc. How well it's been applied, how retailers have actually leveraged their returns. Quite often that's left to it's quite far down the line in respect of kind of then the area of investment. Typically, it's getting the shop up and running, be able to transact digitally, and I'm talking definitely the last 18 months. Be able to hopefully mitigate some of the losses of sales through their offline channels and kind of getting the store up and operating. The whole sort of how returns happen behind the scenes, etc., is one that's been, quite often the can's been kicked down the road, and they're still resolving that from an issue perspective. But again, automation would be an amazing way to be able to do that, right? So a customer indicates they want to return. That then automatically triggers for a courier to go and pick that parcel up. It sends an email to the customer with a printout that needs to be stuck to the package with all the information the courier needs to be able to scan that and bring it back to the warehouse and be able to inventory that back into the store. Obviously, it needs to be checked as well to make sure that it's as is, that was sold. In addition to that, triggering the payment, right? And subsequent notifications that might go off the back of it of, yeah, we received the goods, your refund is going to be paid within the next week, and as soon as the refund's paid, a follow-up email to the customer to notify them that the refund's gone. And in addition to that, some sort of survey to say, well, why was it returned? What could we have done better for you, et cetera, and be able to gather that important customer feedback to be able to feed into the cycle to deliver a better experience and hopefully mitigate further returns into the future.
Oh, definitely. Can you think of any retailers that maybe Adobe work with or something that offer a great experience with the returns policy?
Yeah, look, I mean, certainly one of the bigger ones that we work with here is Accent Group, and they've obviously got a whole host of different brands that they execute around. They've done a really great job, not just particularly over the last 18 months with dark stores and respect of fulfillment and so forth. Their returns, capability is very, very strong in respect of being able to automate that process, the customer experience, the notifications, etc. that wrap around that. They certainly are, stand out from a customer experience, and they've gone strength to strength over the last 18 months. I think obviously they were lucky enough. They had the foundation in place in respect of their e-commerce audience as well as capability already in place to be able to execute when COVID effectively came along. But they obviously just doubled down on that in respect and obviously made quite big strides in respect of the last 18 months, while others in that market were still struggling to get kind of the technology foundations in place to be able to pivot from offline to online.
Yeah, they are doing a really good job. Accent Groups are definitely, they're a trailblazer in that sense.
Yeah, very much so.
So what else would you like retailers and brands to know about innovating through AI other than what we've mentioned today?
Well, I think first and foremost, like I said, in a lot of cases, you're probably not even aware that you're using AI, and certainly don't be scared of it. It's not something that, quite often I think it comes with, AI, and there's this expectation that you need, PhD kind of mathematics resources on staff, and you need, fairly high-end developers, etc., to be able to leverage AI. I think, partly, media is probably given that perception of it, but in a lot of cases, it's built into the technology. It's very easy to deploy. It in fact deploys as part of your typical, in a lot of cases, commerce platform. And it doesn't require an additional set of skills to be able to apply it. If anything, what we're doing is taking away some of the more, say, advanced math skills to build algorithms, etc., away from you, and we're giving you out of the box algorithms to use straight away. So examples like, people that looked at this also looked at that and giving more weighting to, more recent customer interactive, but that's an out of the box algorithm that's built into our technology. Image recognition capability, right? That's built into the technology. All you have to do is choose whether you want to activate it or not. And so, if anything, you will get left behind if you don't use it. Your competitors absolutely are. They're doubling down on leveraging this, obviously trying to free up their resources to make them more valuable to the organization, provide that kind of higher order value to the business, and allowing them to be able to deliver more experiences into market by leveraging this technology that is more relevant to customers. And again, AI gives you the ability to be able to throttle the usage of it. So you can understand customer behavior. And when we talk about sort of big brother and, have you over-indexed in respect of the personalization you're providing to customers, well, it'll automatically adjust for that. So you might say, okay, we're going to use AI to drive, recommendations. You might set orders or the revenue that have come through as kind of the KPI metric that you're going to benchmark against. If you over-index in respect of sort of, big brother on personalization, etc., to customers, what will happen is you will lose sales or you lose orders, right? And so it will automatically adjust according to what's most appropriate for customers, and it will be doing that, 1,000 times per second per day, right? And working out what's the optimal experience to put in front of customers. And you simply can't do that if you're running old technology or you manual processes in respect of the technology executing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned retailers and businesses like Accent Group, which are in itself very large. So that can be quite intimidating for smaller retailers that maybe can't afford to have that sort of technology. So how would a smaller retailer get their, get their feet into the AI world without having to spend too much money?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, at least from a Adobe Commerce perspective, we sell across the spectrum, right? We have open source technology through to licensed technology, and that licensed technology is banded or tiered based on the size of retailer you happen to be, right? And that gives you access to AI. There's no additional cost for our AI and our technology. It's all wrapped up into the price for the product, right? And keep in mind that it's a sunk cost, right? Once we've created this capability for enterprise businesses, there's no reason why we wouldn't make it available across the spectrum. We're already invested in it. It's readily available, and we make that as readily available to our customers as we can. In addition to that, we have what's called a developer marketplace, so where our partners and our customers create additional modules on top of our technology, and that gives you a further access to a wider array of various types of AI algorithms and modules that might be available to you that Adobe might not have created yet for you, right? That you can add on. In a lot of cases, a lot of those modules are, maybe a couple hundred. Some of them are a couple of $1,000. That will provide incremental value to you and allow you to be able to scale in respect of your customer experience that you simply wouldn't be able to achieve with the current technology you're on, or the maturity of your staff, etc.
Yeah, so basically it doesn't matter what size you are as a retailer, there's something that will actually work for you. So,
absolutely.
Fantastic. So we have one final question before we head into our Q&A from the audience. What does the future of commerce look like to you? And do you think that established merchants should be worried about their competitors using AI to power their businesses?
So I want to talk, so from a future perspective, I think, you have to start to see the future as being, commerce everywhere, right? I mean, effectively, and I can, talk to obviously the Adobe Commerce Roadmap. We're providing flexibility for retailers depending on where you're at from a maturity perspective to either, create the entire experience within our technology or be able to plug it into another front-end technology that you want to use it across effectively any device, any glass. Commerce will be available to you, right? I think what you will see and starting to see more and more of is that the experience, that there is no defined experience, right? The experience effectively is going to be compiled by AI on the fly based on inputs and interactions from your customers. So you, Ali, you might come to brand ABC's site, and based on your previous interactions, it's going to have a choice of say 1 million different assets that are available, and that could be there's going to be 100 different static banners, there might be 1,000 different rich media, there might be a bunch of carousels, etc. available. It'll look at your historical behavior, use the data, determine what should go into that hero position on the home page, and everything else on that page is going to be completely created on the fly. And that experience is going to be absolutely unique to you. And using both analytics data, so we say data and content effectively, it's art and science when it comes to customer experiences. That's essentially what you're going to have, right? You're going to have data as being the voice, you get collecting the data, and then artists being able to compile that experience and be able to respond back to the customer in real time. And so we're going to capture data about every single module that makes up that experience on that page, and that it's gonna work out what's the optimal module to put into that space on that page to be able to deliver the best possible experience. And if it doesn't deliver a great experience, it's going to iterate on in real time, right? So the next time you come back, you're going to see something completely different. And so these entire experiences or experience fragments are going to be created. And that's effectively what the future of commerce is going to look like, is essentially you're going to put it in that, you're going to create, we as humans are going to create, what we think are the experiences that customers want to be able to have. And in respect of the creative content that's going to create the connection with the brand, but the technology is going to work out how to deliver that on that screen, on that bandwidth, and that time. And then, for commerce retailers that are looking at, should I go AI, should I go, or should I stay where I'm at? I think there's no doubt that if you continue to follow the traditional path, and this is not, 100%. There are certainly exclusive high-end retailers which have that face-to-face, one-to-one relationship with customers, where the traditional channel might continue to work for the foreseeable future. But for the other 95% of retailers out there, your competitors are absolutely shifting towards these tools where they can start to, offload some of the administrative capability of humans that we're not particularly good at to be able to deliver better experiences at scale and in a timely fashion to meet customer needs. And we've got data from the digital trends, Adobe's digital trends index. We've been doing this for the last 11 years. That shows that in the last 18 months, there has been no worse time for brands in respect of loyalty. People have absolutely churned off brands at a higher rate than ever seen before in the last 18 months, most likely due to the fact that brands didn't meet them in the right channel at the right time through COVID. So they hadn't pivoted quick enough. They had a need that they had to get, that for whatever reason needed to get met. That brand that they would traditionally have interacted with wasn't there, and so they churned and started to interact with another brand. And we've got data to show that there's been a very, very fluid behavior change. Loyalty has been eroded over the last 18 months. And so brands need to obviously build that back up and continue to excel past that. And you need to be investing into these technologies to continue to be competitive into the future.
Absolutely. So now we're going to go on to a couple of questions from the audience. We do only have a few minutes, so I will only be able to get to one or two. We have a question from James. How can retailers balance out individualized experience and customer data privacy concerns?
Great question. So yeah, certainly, look, privacy, security, consent is top of mind. And I kind of alluded to this. We talk about, know me and respect me as a customer. So know who I am, capture the data that you need, not everything about me, but what you need to be able to deliver the best possible experience to me. So there might be 100 things that you could know about me, but potentially only need 30 of them in order to deliver the best possible experience. Know me and then respect me. So don't try and sell my data to someone else, right? And like I alluded to, you can use technology here to be able to work out, am I over-indexing a little bit too much from a big brother perspective? Maybe that welcome of, hey, Ali, when you come to the site, maybe is a little bit too far. You can test these out, right? You can create what's called 2 different A/B experiences and go, okay, let's use the algorithm on this, or let's use maybe traditional pathway on that, and start to see which one performs better, right? And potentially you might use it on net new customers to your brand versus those that are traditional loyal customers, because you don't want to impact those loyal customers. Or maybe your loyal customers are willing to give you a pass on going a little bit further in respect of testing new experiences, and so you might test it on that audience. You've got a lot of flexibility with these technologies to start to understand what's the best possible experience, and have I gone too far, or did I hit it just right?
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree with the with coming to a website and them knowing a little bit too much about you. It can be a bit intimidating from a customer's point of view, especially if they don't understand what AI is and that personalization. So it's great to test. And
if you've been searching on another site for floral dresses, and you didn't think they had any correlation to the site they happen to go to, 5 minutes later or a day later, and suddenly you started to see floral dresses show up on that site in front of you, you might start to really question about the the ethics that that brand uses and their moral compass.
Oh, definitely. I've certainly seen a meme or two about the your smartphones and your laptops pretty much knowing exactly what you're thinking, and it's all down to this technology. So sometimes it can go a bit too far. So it's nice that there's a balance.
Sorry, the one other thing I wanted to add to that is that technology is also resolving the privacy, security, and consent issue as well, right? So we got Adobe Experience Platform. This technology was built for a number of reasons. One of those reasons was to be able to activate both, real-time digital data as well as offline data. But the other thing, the reason was built was to give you a framework to be able to manage your privacy, security, and consent for customers. So we have what's called, in this technology, we've got what's called DUAL, which is data usage labeling enforcement, lovely complex acronym. But really what it means is that here is where you can manage how that data is actually utilized across the different channels, across the different regions you might go to market, etc. And also keeping in mind that, you know, some of you have multinational brands, right? So you might have to, you know, comply with different legislations from a global perspective. California's got their own, obviously Europe's got their own, etc. And being able to apply that in a global sense so that you're always compliant. And so technology, again, is here helping you be able to manage and ensure that you stay within the compliance regulations.
Yes, absolutely. So do you have a favorite aspect of AI-powered commerce? Do you prefer the individualization or personalization, some, you know, robotic process automation? Do you have a favorite at all?
Well, I think, look, I think the image stuff is pretty exciting. And if you went to, if you followed sort of Adobe, we have a big customer event every year. It's called Adobe Summit. And one of the, you know, from a pure retail perspective, which I thought was kind of cool to see was, you know, we have a thing called Sneaks where we sort of show you the technology that's in our labs that's potentially coming into our technology. And one of them, you know, we had last year, which I thought was quite cool, was kind of, you know, clothes swap. And so this is really, you know, showing you your apparel and saying, okay, this as apparel reseller, this is what you have available. You might have a number of different models that you're using, and you might be using that to be able to personalize based on, you know, if a customer has indicated they're a certain size or ethnicity or something like that, you're going to try and, you know, draw a correlation with them around that. And so, you know, you can't obviously from a fashion photo shoot perspective shoot every single model across every single piece of apparel that you might have in store to ensure that you have that from a personalization perspective or individualization perspective. What we can do here is use AI to be able to overlay all of your 100,000 million different types of garments across the 100, say, different models that you might use, right? And be able to create that catalog in real time without actually physically having to go and photo shoot that. And then in addition to that, you could also even upload your own photo as a customer and start to see how those clothes actually look on you, together with potentially clothes that you might have in your wardrobe. And I think that's really interesting in respect of, you know, time to market, be able to personalize and using models that closely correlate to your customers, etc. But without the effort that's associated with having to try and shoot that millions of times to be able to replicate that.
I think that's really cool. I'm not sure if you know this film, but one of the favorites in Clueless is at the very start when the main character tries on all of the clothes and it's all pre-programmed into her computer. And I know every girl my age has always wanted that technology. And if there's something similar that we can use to go shopping, I think it's going to be a utopia, honestly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time. So I actually wanted to give a massive thank you to Scott for taking the time out to join us here today. If we didn't get time to answer your questions, or if you have any questions that you'd like to ask him individually, feel free to reach out. And just wanted to say, stay safe, everybody. Thank you again for all joining. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon, and we will see everybody at the next webinar.
Thanks, Ellie. Thanks all. Have a great day.
Bye.